Long before history was written by outsiders, the future of African communities rested on the small shoulders of their children. Their stories weren't carved into stone or printed on paper. Instead, they lived in songs, in scars, and in silence. In many ancient African societies, childhood wasn't seen as a time of weakness. A child was considered a seed of the ancestors, watched over by both the living and the dead. From as early as 5 years old, they learned skills that kept entire villages alive. Boys would follow hunters into the forest, learning to read animal tracks like a language. Girls would master farming, pottery, healing with herbs, and the art of storytelling. Their education didn't happen in classrooms. It happened under trees, by rivers, and around crackling evening fires. But there is a chapter of their history that was deliberately buried. When the transatlantic slave trade began, millions of African children vanished from their homes. Some were snatched during night raids. Others were sold during times of famine when their families had no other choice. Many were torn from their parents forever, never learning their true names or origins again. These children were labeled as cargo. On the long, brutal walk to the coast, children who cried were silenced. Those who couldn't keep up were left behind. On the slave ships, traders preferred children because they were easier to control and could be reshaped. Many never survived the journey. Their deaths weren't recorded. Their names were never written down. This is why history calls them the forgotten. But not all African children were victims. During times of invasion and colonial conquest, some were forced to become warriors. In kingdoms like Dahomey and during resistance movements across the continent, boys as young as 12 carried weapons not because they wanted war, but because survival demanded it. Other children served as messengers, spies, and protectors of sacred knowledge. They memorized secret routes, enemy movements, and hidden symbols. Without them, many African resistance efforts would have failed, but their bravery was rarely acknowledged. When colonizers arrived, they dismissed African ways of raising children as primitive. Mission schools punished children for speaking their native languages, using their traditional names, or practicing ancestral customs. They were taught to forget who they were. History books written during this era focused on kings, explorers, and colonizers, but not on the children who suffered, resisted, and endured. Today, Africa has the youngest population in the world. Yet, the stories of these children from the past remain missing from our